Hey guys, Derek Hudnall here, Bassmaster Elite Series Pro and also missile baits enthusiast, and I want to go through some of my favorite flipping setups. I'm a South Louisiana guy through and through. I love flipping, I love power fishing, and I love just thumping skulls any way that I can. And I'm going to go through some of my most favorite techniques, favorite soft plastics, and kind of when I change from one to the other and what kind of keys me in on that. So hopefully this will help you guys make decisions here in the near future. And if you guys all know, if you do not know what the MISSILEBAITS D-Bomb is, you're missing out, because this thing's been around a long time and there's a reason for it. It absolutely catches giant fish. I've had multiple big fish titles in my career on this bait, and it's just a bait that flat out catches them. We have racked our head for years and said, why does this bait catch so many big fish? All I can tell you is it does, and that's it right there. The MISSILEBAITS D-Bomb, my kind of opinion on this is the ribs help the fish to hold on and not let go. I think it's the tail action that really entices those fish to really bite, hold on, and it really mimics a real life bait fish, and I think that's why this thing is so effective. So I will flip this thing in a couple of different ways. I am typically, my go-to weight size is a 5/16 on this. I think it's a good weight size to where you can be efficient with your cast, meaning be very accurate, because let's face it, the heavier it is, the more accurate you can be, but the lighter it is, the more action it gets. I think a 5/16 is more of that kind of in-between weight size that kind of balances everything. So a 5/16 is what I'll go to. There are times where I'll go to a 1/2 ounce if it's maybe in a little thicker cover. I want a little faster rate of fall, because sometimes those fish really react when that bait hits the bottom. You know, with a 1/2 ounce, sometimes I'll flip it in there, and if you ever watch it in a pool or something, that bait almost opens up when it hits the bottom really fast. And there are times I will go to a smaller weight as well, especially if I'm bed fishing, because this is a sleeper when it comes to bed fishing as well. But I'm typically a 4/0, just a round bend offset worm hook by Gamakatsu. I'm anywhere from 18 to 22 pound sunline shooter when it comes to this. Guys, make sure you bring the beef when you're flipping, especially heavy cover. Do not bring a tricycle to a NASCAR race when you're flipping this dude right here, because I'm flipping this dude for one reason, and I want to catch big ones, and that D-Bomb right there absolutely does the trick. So I'm going to give you guys some situations where I will change from a D-Bomb, which is not very often, but there are times where you need to downsize, upsize, give something a little more action in order to catch fish. And I'm going to go to the next one. The next one is the Chunky D. This little guy right here was introduced not very long ago, and it's really introduced as a jig trailer, but I absolutely love fishing with this thing. Quick story real quick. We were fishing in a lake in Florida, and there was a bunch of bedfish. I had some customers with me, and they were flipping at it, and they were flipping big baits. I turned around, I picked up a Chunky D, and the fish ate it on the first cast. This thing is when you're wanting that small compact, and especially in Florida, you know those fish like smaller baits for whatever reason. If you're gonna, I mean, there's so many things you can do with it. I love to punch this Chunky D. I'll put 1 ounce to 1.5 ounces, maybe even a 2 ounce weight on this little thing. It falls through the cover extremely well. And also, in those fish, you know, especially up north, especially with smallmouth, I love to throw this thing because it's a little bit smaller than the D-Bomb, but the smallmouth love those smaller profile baits, and this Chunky D is absolutely it. I will go with a 3/0 offset round bend hook by Gamakatsu as well, because it is a little bit smaller profile. It threads on there super smooth, super easy, and very castable. I will go down to a 3/0 for this. So the other, I guess you can say, kind of downsizing would be the Destroyer. Actually, that's a baby Destroyer. They make a full size as well. I like the smaller profile of this bait, because when I go down from a D-Bomb, I want a smaller profile. Bed fishing, guys, oh my gosh, like the bed fishing, I mean, there's been giants caught off of beds, not just from myself, from so many people. It gives that tail action. You can flip it in a bed, and you can just see the tails come to life while that fish is coming over to grab it. And then also on a Carolina rig as well, this bait has been an absolute killer. So I'm gonna, you know, my go-to is always going to be a D-Bomb, just because it catches so many big ones. When I need to downsize at the right times, or if I'm punching, I'm gonna go to the Chunky D. And then when I'm Carolina rigging or I'm bed fishing as well, I'm going to put the baby Destroyer in my hand. But I'm gonna give you guys one more that is one of my favorite, that is almost kind of a dying breed, but it is so darn effective and it catches so many big fish that you need to make sure that you always have a bigger profile jig in your arsenal. This right here, the Missile Jigs Flip Out. This is the full-size jig. This isn't the Ike mini flip that a lot of you guys are used to seeing. This is a full-size jig. I love the 3/4 ounce. They go all the way up. You know, they several different sizes you can go, but they have the heavier jigs. And of course, I have the chunky D on the back of it. Guys, especially right now, we're in the springtime and a lot of fish like reaction. I like a bigger jig when I'm flipping it in there. It's just, again, kind of like the D-bomb I was talking about. When this big jig hits the bottom, everything just opens up. The tails, the skirt and everything just comes to life. And guys, this thing, you know, a jig will catch an absolute giant. And this is actually one of my go-to baits or my rotation whenever I'm bed fishing. I may start off with a D-bomb flipping it. I may go to just the chunky D, but there are a lot of situations where I will flip a big jig like this into a bed and get that fish to react to it. Why, I don't know. I had somebody show me that years ago, but then when I got my hands on the flip out, I really saw what they were talking about. I've caught some absolute giants, and for whatever reason on a bed, that thing can be so effective. And of course, I'm from South Louisiana. I absolutely love grass and hydrilla. Now, you get hydrilla at the surface, guys. This 3/4 ounce jig is something that you have to have in your hand if you live around a lake that you have a lot of vegetation in. It just simply catches big fish. And all of the baits that I'm showing you, and especially this jig, guys, just remember this. If you're a big fish connoisseur and you want to catch your personal best, you need to throw something that's a big profile. Then the reason for that is because big fish don't have the energy that the smaller ones do. So they don't want to exert as much energy as the smaller ones, but they want bigger, higher protein diets, so you need to have a big bait in your hand. I like to throw, again, don't bring a tricycle to a NASCAR race. I'm a 7.4 heavy rod, 50-pound Sunline X-Plasma braid, you know, straight to this jig, because when you hit that fish, you want to make sure you end the fight as soon as possible. And I'll boat flip everything with this setup right here. But the Missile Jigs, of course, the flip out to the D-bomb, and you guys know, that's always been my favorite because it catches so many big ones, to the Destroyer, all the way down to the chunky D, and even the Crawfather that we haven't showed you guys. You know, Missile Baits has always put out a good product because they just absolutely flat out catch them. But I hope these tips help. I hope these tips help to put more fish in your boat, so tight lines, and talk to you guys next time.